Hello, my name is Marco Tizza. This is my debate for response on the environment. I will be responding to Marilyn Houston Yano and defending how the environmental considerations must be taken precedent over economic developmental considerations. I apologize if you've already gotten one or two responses, but not many people defended your side of the argument, and I couldn't get the sound to work on another one. But I really enjoyed how you went about your argument, and I'm glad you did still address some of the obvious issues of climate change, including global warming and rising sea levels, as well as other issues as you listed. Um, However, after that, you posed the idea that these issues can be overplayed by overzealous media groups. And I found that a little bit unfair because, of course, that can be said the same from conservative media groups downplaying the hypothesis of credible scientists. And I think we absolutely need to take into consideration the opinions and statements of the world's leading climate scientists. It's obvious they have a better knowledge and understanding of what is happening to our planet, the polar ice caps and rising sea levels, etc. So I don't think we should downplay that. But you go on to mention that being able to get all people on the same page in regards to working towards a common goal for the environment to be important. But I think in regards to the first priority of humanity, on a global scale at least, addressing environmental issues must be prioritized, and should be kind of obvious that not all people from these countries are going to be on board with this, of course. Um, However, I do sort of agree that we cannot expect developing nations to share the same green concerns that developed countries share when they are obviously faced with extreme poverty and they are in a constant battle for resources and survival and food issues. However, I don't believe this means that we need to be taking care of the millions of people who are in a global food crisis it, before saving the natural resources that are being wasted. Well, that's the main problem. There's that we are wasting and destroying a vast amount of natural resources, and in doing so, we are putting the earth at risk. Also, in most cases, poverty and environmental change are often linked together. Polluted water can lead to crop failures, and the effects on climate change can actually turn fertile fields into deserts and flood coastal areas that affects hundreds of millions of people. So, in theory, I think developing countries should choose sustainable development if they want any sort of future for their people. And per usual, of course, it is going to be the poorest people in the poorest countries who are affected first, and by far the most in regards to climate change. Underdeveloped countries who are affected first just do not have the resources to improve their nation after a natural disaster, or countries, let's see, that are already living on the edge of their nations are in serious risk at the threat of sea level rise that could wipe out civilizations and could kill lots of people. Going back to trusting lead scientists, some of the lead scientists with the IPCC, or Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, have warned that within the next 12 years, if we do not address global warming, it needs to be kept at a maximum of 1.5 degrees Celsius. Anything beyond half a degree could significantly increase the risk of droughts, floods, and extreme and heat poverty that could lead to the mass migrations of hundreds of millions of people. And this won't just be a little bit of sea level rise. There would be, millions of people displaced from this, and not just from sea level rise, but more importantly due to the changing weather patterns that would make inhabitable areas unsuitable for farming as well. This has actually already been seen in countries or in areas like Indochina due to changing monsoon patterns, and I think it's safe to assume that that's going to be going on elsewhere in the world as well. I don't think this means that we need to spring to action within the next 12 years. That temperatures are going to go beyond 1.5 degrees, and things are going to get catastrophic in 12 years. Just more simply put, I think that ensuring global temperatures are stabilized and do not reach unsafe conditions needs to be an absolute priority over developmental and economic projects. Um, Now, these aren't problems that are going to be happening outside of the scope of our lifetime. I think these are critical that we preserve for the earth for our children and grandchildren. Now, just going on that topic, no one wants to stop economic progress. That's going to help better millions of lives. I just think from a global perspective, obviously, 0% economic growth is not a serious solution or a serious option. You just have to insist a sustainable development that combines environmental care as well as social justice and economic growth. Some sort of global agreement that would probably lead to a reduction of coal and oil consumptions, which in turn, of course, would cause disparities and discrepancies in countries such as Africa and Europe between a lot of the South American countries. However, with the Earth and its limited resources, it just cannot support unrestricted growth and unchecked population growth that has a negative impact on any nation. Um, Both poverty and environmental problems in like sub-Saharan Africa and largely a result from rapid population growth and puts a large pressure on some of the finite resources that we have. So overall, I think climate change is just going to displace a lot of people in rapidly growing countries, and it's going to continue to cause a refugee crisis that needs to be addressed, and we can't ignore the wars that will follow from such a massive displacement. So, yeah, essentially it.